Good morning, Steve here. Good morning, Steve. And actually, today I kind of woke up feeling good about the day, which is um, which is something that I have worked towards achieving. Was feeling good about the day when I wake up. Oh, I woke up. It's going to be a good day. But actually, in the cleansing process of the last 7 months, detoxing process of the last 7 months, I've not really been as perky as I had been in the kind of 72 years up to that point. And August 17th of 2023, I felt like, oh my goodness, dude, am I really that full of stuff? And apparently I was. So today's videos, I'm I'm feeling good. So more power to you. So today, this video is going to be about tarot. So that's the book that the information that I'm going to share is coming from. Um, I don't know how much I'll go into depth about this book, The Essential Low Back Problem, and it's Robin Rothenberg, but I'm going to talk about that. And I'm going to put this up here just so you can pause it and look at it. Today is a Red Dragon Day, and so hopefully you'll be able to actually read that for yourself if you care to. If you're new to the channel, I like to say that just because I have my own YouTube channel. Whoa. Or as the surfers, I think that's the surfer sign. Because I like watching surfing competitions and sometimes disc golf. So here's basically the way this has gone. So this channel was set up by my stepdaughter, who, has her own YouTube channel and has Instagram. And her dance company is Flock, Flock. So if you want to, she's just like super high energy being. And so if you want to follow her dance movements, right now she'll be teaching choreography to some dance school or dance company, I think in Milan, Italy. And I don't know if she's always taking people on these trips that she goes on, but if she is, and and I don't know if, it's Alice, Klock, Alice Clock, so that might be her Instagram, or it might be Flock. And if you follow her, you would have been in Germany and then in England, and then I don't know if they danced about at her sister's house in the southern part of England, but she did make a video with my grandson where they were doing a casual dance down the street near their home, near the home in England. And then from there, they went to Scotland and they went around Scotland a little bit. That was just like a pleasure trip to fill in space before their choreographic paid teaching job, I think, in Milan, Italy. So that's the life of middle 30s dancer and her choreographic partner. So it's Florian Lochner, who's the who's her business choreographic partner. They were former dancers for Hubbard Street Ballet, and now they basically sometimes they perform. They have a company that performs. I imagine you can go to YouTube and watch some of their videos. Flock. So I won't say any more about Flock, but it was Alice that helped me to create this channel in mid-December. And so basically, I, produce a video mostly on consciousness and healing, and I would have, initially like 10 people would watch it. And then, sometimes one would be really popular and there might be 60 people to watch it. And who knows if they watched it or if they just looked at it and gone, oh man, he looks like Bernie Sanders. I don't need to listen to this guy. And then they clicked onto another channel, which I know that I may not look like Bernie Sanders, but this morning when I was setting up the lighting and the computer, it's not as easy as it looks. It's actually probably easier, but it seems difficult sometimes when you're just a person who's not used to this. I'm getting used to it because I've been doing it a while now. So that was quite an introduction. I probably should just shut it off and just start again, but I'm not going to. So we have essential low back program to relieve pain and restore health. And so I think that I'll start off or continue on with the Mayan calendar. So in case, recently I published, I published a video and included, and the video was about doing a tarot reading for the world. And and so here's a person who's maybe, I think, averaging 30, looks when I do a video. And so that's my average. So I went from 30 looks to 1.5 thousand views on my tarot. So I think I'm just going to include the word tarot in all my videos and see what happens. But anyway, it could be tarot. It could be Mayan, because people are like Mayan, And I really am interested in this whole Mayan view of our Earth circling our sun, circling the central sun, and the approximate 26,000 years it takes to do that, and how there's poles on the end of the 26,000 years. So it's 26,000, it's 13,000 years, one pole, 13,000 years, another pole. This whole thing in 2012 where the pole shifts and people were saying like, we're going to die. And maybe some did. And those that really believe they're going to die maybe did die. But some people were thinking that the Earth was going to switch its poles and dump everybody off or something. There's many different constructs, kind of like religion, that there's many different constructs and people primarily believe different things and then they argue about them. But they're arguing about stories that somebody else has made up that they've decided to accept as the truth. But I'm just going to say it. All religions are a story. And they're a metaphor. And if you like the story and you like the metaphor and it works for you and it gives you a feeling of community with people that you actually like and appreciate, then more power to you. Community of people you like and appreciate is something, I feel like worth experiencing. And I'd rather, for myself, that it be virtual. So all you virtual people out there, you may find the words that I speak useful, and some of you may not find any of them useful, but you may find them useful. And the only way that they're going to be truly useful for you is if you experience something from the words. If you take the words, they come into your head, they match your perception of reality, and you go, oh yeah, I totally get that. And then you just chuck them, then nothing's really changed. When you take a construct, an idea from some talking head, this talking head or some other talking heads, whatever, and you take that and you just go, oh, I'm going to spread that idea that as if it's true. So it's some talking heads belief, and you believe it's true, like the world's going to tip over and everybody's going to be dumped out, and you spread that. Um, you're maybe not paying attention to the four agreements, which is be impeccable with your words, do your best, don't assume, and don't take it personally. And as was pointed out to me this morning, it was possible that I couldn't take something that was said quite so personally. And I thought, oh, there we go with the old four agreements again. Don't take it personally. All right. So you can read what the red dragon says, and I'm going to read it to you actually as well, because I am a red dragon, according to 13moon.com, which is a website where you can decode your birth date and find out which of the 20 kin you are. So my kin are the red dragons. And yesterday was the yellow sun, and my wife is a yellow sun, which is kind of nice, is that we're kind of right next to each other in the kinship, but we're also the beginning and the end in the kinship as well, whatever that means to you. So the red dragon. Red dragon relates to, of course, the color red and the east, where the sun rises. And it's related to the throat chakra, and it's about nurturing, and it's about birth, and it's about being. So I'm going to read these words to you because I find that when I verbalize these words of the day of the Mayan calendar, the energy of those words can go out and you can receive them if you want. But I loved this saying. It says here that it's from the Tao Te Ching. And they have quotation marks. So, quote, love the world as your own self. Now, if that gives you a problem, which it did, it has given me a problem to think love the world as my own self. Well, I don't like myself. Well, then I don't like the world. You know? So just like if you want to love the world as your own self, then it would be really useful for you to begin to love yourself. And if you start off with your deep self, you will love yourself. So if you say, I connect to my deep self, you go into the center of your spine, the middle of your torus, your pranic tube, where those energies, Kundalini energies, are moving up and down, and those energies start to move up and down. And you find yourself in the deep peace of your deep self, and you feel that calm flowing through your body. It will, over time, become much easier to love yourself. Because who doesn't love peace? Not that we experience peace that often, but when we do, we go, oh, I love peace. This place in nature brings me such a feeling of peace. It makes me want to just breathe more deeply. These are all good things from my perspective, and this is all from my perspective. It's the only perspective I have. And you have yours, and reality is a construct. So you make up your reality, I make up my reality. If I find someone who I like their reality better than mine, I may take that on and experiment with it and see if I like that reality. If I do, then it's mine, then I own it. And you can share your reality with anybody, and they can take your reality and take it away, but you still have it. So reality is something we can just share. And if we have a reality that's working for us, then I feel like it's useful to share it with others. And I had the thought before, I was getting ready to make this video this morning, I had the thought to ask as many of you as want to do this. So don't do anything anybody asks you to if it seems stupid to you, or if it doesn't pass your intuition judgment group, they don't have to be a judgment group, but your intuition group, that part of you that goes, this doesn't seem right. Well, when you get that, this doesn't seem right, then you can make the choice not to do it. What I'll ask you to do, though, is every time I make a video and you watch it, and in the comments section, rather than saying like, well, and it's fine for you to say anything you want in there. So say anything you want in there, you know. But if you would make a comment on one thing you changed, and really keep it to one thing you changed. I mean, if you write two or three, that's fine too. But if it's more focused, if you say one thing you've changed. So I'll tell you how I came about to what I experienced today. Was I have a client who read this book. And the book was written by a medical intuitive. And if you asked me to, I could share it. And what the person's name was. They have many books, I guess, and they're a medical intuitive. And I was talking about how my digestion had not been as good as it was prior to August 17th when my detox started. And so then as my detox started, I started feeling like bloated and things started coming out of my skin, and I won't go into any more detail than that, but that's all you need to know. It's just like, yeah, detoxing can not, it can be less than attractive, especially if you're in it. Okay, so one of the things that she mentioned that this medical intuitive said, so it must be true, because this person's intuition is much better than ours because they've written a book, right? So don't trust your own intuition about things. Trust someone called a medical intuitive. Now that's a big name. And anyway, so what the medical intuitive said was, every day, if you want to recalibrate, reset your entire digestive system, and I don't know if he said every day, he said, but the best way to do that is in the first thing in the morning before you eat anything. Drink celery juice. And I'm going to say organic celery juice because who knows what's on that stuff. And even if it says organic, who knows if it is. But still, if you can get organic celery, then all I did was blend it up in the blender, super blended it with some, I used alkaline water because I can. And so I used alkaline water with the celery, blended it up and drank it, and surprisingly found that it was delicious. And I felt really good after I drank it. And I felt like I drank this 16-ounce glass of life force. So if you'll make a comment on the, in your comments, if you say one way in which you changed your behaviors, because this is all about changing our behaviors. If we keep doing the same thing, we keep producing the same result. If we don't like the result we're producing, change your beliefs, behaviors, and or boundaries, or all three. But when you make a change in behavior or a change in belief or a change in boundaries, just write it down. Because I was going to say, I am opposed to having having me be told what my consciousness needs to be in order to be accepted by society. Somebody's making this stuff up. Somebody's making up the term woke. Now I'd say, what does woke mean to you? And you go, well, it might mean awakened. And I'd say, well, why don't you just say awakened? Because that has meaning. If you have to make up a meaning, it's a word somebody's putting out there to get you to think in a particular way that's beneficial for them. So if you if you have ever, oh, I forgot to plug it in. If you have ever um, said something you felt good about in the past few years, you might have learned that you were virtue signaling, which is a really bad thing to do. That you should have an opinion about the world and you should express it, especially if it's not an opinion that everybody else feels like you should be having. And it's not an opinion that shows that you're part of the woke community. Now, I'll tell you definitely, the woke community is not a community that I choose to be a part of, but maybe you can't be separate from it. So you can just acknowledge that it may exist. At least it's coming to your consciousness. Woke. Is that woke? Are you virtue signaling? So I'm just going to say, I invite you to, as a possibly awakened soul on the planet, possibly a being filled with light on the planet, I invite you to virtue signal. And it might sound like this. This morning, I did some yoga for my lower back to strengthen my deep muscles that don't get strengthened by much of what I do. So I went in and did some yogic exercises from the book I showed you in the beginning. And you say, oh, why? I said, well, because I used to have this issue in my lower back from lifting a dishwasher out of the box because my friend who was helping me suggested we lift it out of the box. And I said, well, wouldn't it make sense to cut the box away from it? And then you didn't have to lift this heavy thing up. And he goes, just do it. And he was helping me for free install a dishwasher. So when a person's helping you for free, you kind of feel obligated to do really stupid things that they suggest, which I did, which I attempted to lift my side of a dishwasher out of a box. And you know those things are like at least 3 feet high, if not a little bit more, maybe 4. You're trying to lift this thing with your arms extended and you're back in a really bad position. Well, long story short, I herniated my disc and it never fully recovered. And I was a chiropractor and I got lots of chiropractic care, good chiropractic care. It helped me, but I just kept working because I didn't feel like I could afford to take time and let myself heal. And some of you have probably felt that way as well. So that was in 2003, 2004, where I was replacing that dishwasher that I never used, but I was going to sell this little house and get a different house nearby. So I never used the dishwasher, but I basically wanted to replace it because the other one was so kind of funky because I didn't use it and it had rust and all that stuff. And I wanted the house to look nicer. And I wanted the person to have a new dishwasher that would make them feel good about buying this house. All right. So my back never healed properly. I would later on lift something heavy up, some big thing of compost, and all of a sudden I would be uncomfortable for 3 or 4 days, kind of a swelling of the disc area. Anyway, I took a yoga class with a woman on the island here, maybe, gosh, maybe 10 years ago. And it was called Yoga for the Low Back. So I showed you the book we worked out of. Within the 3rd or 4th day, my lower back just started feeling wonderful. And then within the 7 days, or within the 4th yoga session, within 7 weeks that we did this for, I felt the best I'd ever felt. And so my pain went away, rarely came back. It was just so strong. You know, my back was so strong. And so what did I do? I quit doing yoga. Because why keep your back strong when you're not in pain? So if you can answer that question, just write it in the comments section. Why quit doing something that's good for you? Because you're not suffering. That's a good question. So, out of the reestablishing a functional digestive system, I drank 16 ounces of celery juice today, and it was delicious. And I felt like I drank pure life. So, if you want to try this, and you can just blend up the celery juice, and I strained it, and I just took the liquid from it. I used alkaline water, but you can use whatever kind of water you want. I wanted to get 16 ounces. I drank it, and I have this much energy. Okay, so back to the red dragon. This is a red dragon day according to the Mayan calendar. Love the world as your own self. Then you can truly care for all things. In other words, you can care for yourself and you can care for the world. I'm going to let you read. I'm going to let you read, go back to the calendar and just pause it and read this. Yeah, I'm going to let you read it. Or you can go to 13moon.com and it'll say Dakota date in the upper right hand corner. And you can click on today's date and it'll tell you about the red dragon. And so you can read about this day on that site. Because I'm starting to think like I'm just too full of life. I'm virtual signaling that I did yoga, and I drank celery juice, and I feel really good. And I feel like I need to apologize for it because there's so many people not feeling good in the world. And I was one of those for the past 7 months, not feeling good, detoxing. And so I feel bad, or I can feel bad. I can choose to feel bad and make sure I don't tell other people how well I'm doing, because I don't want to make them feel bad if they're not doing well. And that's a belief, and you can poof that belief and let it go and live high vibe. If you're feeling high vibe, if you're faking it, you might fake it till you make it. But if you feel like, no, the world is like depressed, and we can say, oh, I'm seeing the world as depressed because I'm depressed and projecting it on that world. Well, that may be true. I think it was true for me for the past 4 years, somewhat. It's like, oh, this world is gone crazy, and I don't really want to be a part of it. And I'm just going to walk along in the woods by myself with my cat and just enjoy the woods and stay away from what people are saying I should do. And even having conversations with people, have you done this yet? I'm like, no. Well, when are you going to? Never. I'm not into experimentation when it involves drug dealers. I just like, oh, you're a drug dealer and you want me to do what? I don't think so. I think I'll pass. And we'll just see how it goes. And who knows? It might have gone good for some people. I just don't know. I sure talk a lot for a person who knows so little. But there are little pieces of this or that I pick up on that I find to be useful. And so I'm moving on to that next, if I can find the book with my hands. So one of my lovely listeners let me know that the writer of this book, Angeles Arian, had passed away in 2014. So I didn't know that because her picture on the back of the book made me see her as a very young person. And at the time it was taken, probably in the 70s, she was. But she was born in 1940. So in the 70s, she was 30-something. So that picture is a person as someone 30-something. And she passed away in 2014. kind of really fast, and it caused a lot of pain and suffering for a lot of people, according to what I read on the search engine, DuckDuckGo. Because I'm just going to say it. I don't like anything about Google. So I don't even like to, well, I've given them some free advertising right now by saying Google, but I just don't like anything about it. So yeah, and I could say I'm from Sirius. It's quite possibly true. The dog star. But I don't like to Siri us. I don't like to be told what to do in my life by artificial intelligence. Just don't like it. I like to be independent, but I like to be connected. So independently connected. So we're all part of a world field. We're all part of the oneness of the cosmos. And then we just let each other be ourselves within that oneness. So I pulled 2 cards for today. So this is where I'm going to get maybe 1.5 thousand people at least clicking on my site because I use the word tarot. And I think that's probably why they connected. So here's the tarot reading for the day, for the world, for the day. And I got the Queen of Discs. And so the Queen of Discs, with the globe in her hand, the Queen of Discs builds new worlds through diet and nutrition. What a concept. That we can build a new world through diet and nutrition. There's an interesting construct. She wears a reptilian gown as a symbol of regenerating her body through diet and nutrition. They repeat this. She sits on top of a huge pineapple as a reminder of her commitment to build new worlds that are more fruitful, Freudian or a subliminal suggestion, fruitful, and less bleak and barren than the deserts or deserts of the past. With her crystal wand, she sees with clarity what she needs nutritionally in areas of health, finances, work, and relationships. Like Capricorn the goat and Aries the ram, her crown, the Queen of Discs pioneers stable diets for herself in all arenas of her life. So that this is for us in the world today, the mastery of diet and nutrition, the Queen of Discs. So I actually pulled 2 cards for us that I consider to be the world, because you're in the world, I'm in the world. I don't know about the robots that might be part of that 1.5 thousand people that clicked on my site. We also got the 4 of Wands. So the 4 of Wands relates to completion. It reminds us that before we can energetically move forward in new directions that have heart and meaning, it's important to consummate or complete that which we have set in motion. This symbol also represents the principle of having achieved something. The awareness of virtue signaling, the awareness of being woke, and the release of being woke and virtue signaling, or having any energy about virtue signaling, and just telling about people about what's working in your life, which may be diet and nutrition, or yoga, or tarot. Could be tarot. Symbol represents something, having achieved something, which also is associated with completion. The astrological signs that are represented here are Venus in Aries, the sign of Venus at the top of the card and the sign of Aries at the bottom of the card. Venus is Aries, in Aries is also duplicated on the wheel. And Venus really, to me, is the planet of love. And Aries is the sign of new beginnings. So I'm just going to cut it down to that. Whenever you pull this symbol, the Four of Wands, so the card, the Four of Wands, there it is, at least in this deck. Whenever you pull the Four of Wands, it represents simultaneously something being completed as well as initiated. So, when we want to change, and I can virtue signal in the best of ways that most of my best information about making change came to me in the dream world, where I've gone to dream school for somewhere between 12 and 14 years. I'm thinking it was like 2011, where I really started to be active in the dream world and remember my dreams. And my dreams were in a classroom where people were telling me the ways to change. And so 3 years ago from the dream school, it was 3.5, it was June or so of 2020, I was told there's 3 ways to change. And those ways are: let go of your beliefs and trust your experience. Because I asked, well, what do you have if you don't have beliefs? They said, you have your experience. You can trust that. Beliefs are just stories that are made up based on unresolved events from your past that have emotional connections. And so you make up these stories to kind of explain why you have these intense feelings about something that you haven't been able to let go of, since your dog died 50 years ago. And it's like, well, I can't let it go. Okay, that's your story. But you can let it go. You can let anything go. I haven't let everything go. That's why I keep getting tarot cards that say, you might want to let go of fear. You might want to let go of sorrow. You might want to let go of anger, whatever. It's like, you might want to let go of these things. And that's the way my guides work. They just hammer in some ways. I say, why do you keep going over the same thing every night? For the past week, you've been talking about the same thing. Why do you keep talking about the same thing? And they say, because you haven't gotten it. And as soon as you get it, we'll go on to something new. As soon as you complete the understanding of really getting it. So we can change through changing our beliefs, really letting go of them. Changing our behaviors, which is doing something different, just anything different. Preferably something that you feel intuitively that this will improve the quality of your life. So just pick something. And when you have done something, when you watch this video and you actually do something, oh yeah, I blended up some celery and drank it, but I did some yoga and I forgot how much I liked yoga, or I just did some breath exercises, or I took a walk in nature, or I'm drinking more water, or I'm being more conscious of the foods I'm putting in my body. And you just say I've taken steps in directions that I know are good. And directions that are good for you. I'm just going to briefly go back to a client of mine that said that she was really concerned about this lump in the breast and she's having it biopsied and all these things. And I said, well, what are you concerned about? And she said, well, I'm concerned it might be cancer. And I said, well, what if it is cancer? And she said, oh man, I changed my diet. I start getting more exercise. I'd start dealing with the issues in my life. And I'd start cleansing my body. And I said, well, why don't you just do that? Why don't you pretend it is cancer? At the time, I didn't know that pretending it was cancer wasn't a good idea. I said, you could just pretend it is cancer and just do those things that you feel are really good for you. Doesn't that just make sense to you? And she goes, well, why would I do those things if I don't have cancer? And I said, because you told me you think they're good for you. So I would say, I suggest to you that you do one of the things that you feel is really good for you, and whatever it is, and you have intuition about it, and you feel it's good for you, and just do one a day. And you don't have to say, I'm going to do this forever. Just like I may not drink, I don't even have any celery, so I can't drink more celery unless I go out and get celery. But just do something every day for yourself that feels in your best interest, in your highest good, and might improve the quality of your life and others. So that's it for today. This is a long one. I'm going to be interested to watch it myself and see if I think people can even put up with it. But if I put tarot in the title, I may get another 1.5 thousand people watching it. Who knows? All right. Be well. Now must go.